To understand our approach, you have to understand CTA's long involvement with this particular group of affordable housing proponents and advocates, people who actually do affordable housing. And so for us, this was something that when we found out we had the opportunity to do, we simply had to do it. We had to make this work.
The entire complex really needed an uplift. We needed to show that this was an important project, that the people who were there needed to be valued. The work needed to reflect an approach to openness and caring, and it needed to be new. There are 3 large towers and 1 townhouse development on the north side. The lobbies were dark and dreary. The hallways were poorly lit. The apartment kitchens and bathrooms were the original kitchens and bathrooms, so they were 30 years old. So the idea was to just brighten up the space. We refinished the terrazzo floors, and the walls are a bright white. The lighting is all new, and I feel like when you walk into these buildings now, they're easy to walk through. They're welcoming. They're calm. They're soothing, and they reflect the outdoors. We did new roofs throughout. We replaced a lot of brick on the exterior where there was cracking and leakage. We ripped up all of the plazas and the landscaping. And we've increased the amount of planting. We've lowered all the planter walls with meandering paths and areas for people to sit and relax. It feels like a grand plain in the middle of New York City. The DMAT street that runs through the property on 12th Street was torn up as well and re-landscaped. We kept the trees, but we redid all of the plantings and the stairs. It went up from the ground floor DMAP street up to the 2nd floor plaza level above the garage. I feel like we fixed a lot of the wrongs that were with this space before.
Unfortunately, the residents of the complex were affected a great deal. The water came down Avenue C, and it took out all the utilities within the buildings, and they were down for quite a while.
This really is an affordable place to live, and what happened in Sandy was so horrible. We don't really want it to ever happen again.
At the time that Sandy hit, our office had just completed the construction of the lobbies, and they had to go back and readdress the construction there. The project for the utility building had not been imagined at that point.
The idea was to make this complex able to recover from a superstorm event much more quickly than it had.
Our design team went to ask for federal funding so that we could design the building and raise all of the utilities above that floodplain. So we have what is called wet flood proofing. Utilities are raised and the area is allowed to flood, but the utilities will remain functioning because they're out of the water. It's not only the new building, but it's also the electrical meter rooms within the existing buildings. They too are also raised. We also addressed the elevators as well, so that if a storm comes through again, the cabs will not be sitting in flood water. They will have an alarm and they will be raised into the shaft.
So we had to fit this building in to allow it to do everything it needs to do. It has 3 boilers, it has water heaters, it has pumps, it has all of this equipment for keeping people warm and dry and safe. But it all has to be fit into a tiny, tiny footprint, and it has to be integrated into this super block design that goes back to, I believe, 1965. So all that had to be done from a design perspective. Then from a construction perspective, you could not have found a more difficult place to build a little building. The site is a swamp, and so we have to support a building basically on mud and fill. It wasn't really originally a viable part of Manhattan. So a terrific amount of work and pain went into even getting up out of the ground. The challenges, you name it, the physical challenges, the design challenges, the political challenges, the regulatory challenges, the most challenge per square foot that I think I've ever encountered in any project.
Haven Plaza is the last in a series of Lower East Side buildings that I think that work very well together, and hopefully can be viewed as a whole. But it also differs from our aesthetic in that it's a mechanical building. It is specifically meant to highlight the mechanicals. Looking at it, I think any passerby will know that we tried to highlight the machinery, the beauty of what that is, and the possibility that future disasters will be, their effect will be mitigated by this little jewel on the corner of this housing complex.
It's a kind of tremendous feeling of security to realize that next time we have a terrible storm like Sandy, that the lights won't go off, that the heat won't go off, that the elevators will work as they need to, that the water will work. So just accomplishing that is a tremendous good thing.